It is Friday, February 25th, I had to check, of 2022. And it's the last day of the week. Last day of a really crappy week for a lot of people today. On Guy's Daily Drive. Bam! And welcome everyone to Guy's Daily Drive on a not so beautiful and not so warm Friday. But count your blessings. Things are not as bad as they seem for you here in the US as compared to other parts of the world. So yeah, no big surprise. Putin lied his ass off over the last month, and his obvious intention the entire time was to invade Ukraine. Not a big, huge surprise, and regardless of where you stand politically, I can't think of any justifiable reason for Russia to do this other than Putin just trying to rebuild what used to be the USSR, and he's just all a Twitter over Eastern European countries that were formerly either part of the USSR or part of the Warsaw Pact, joining the EU or joining NATO, and really wanting to have nothing to do with Russia. And considering the way they did their business back in the day, you can ask Hungary and Yugoslavia how they treated member states that didn't toe their line. It's not a huge surprise. This has been building for a long time. You had the so-called breakaway republics in eastern Ukraine, who, without a doubt, was backed and supplied and fortified by Russia with Russian weapons, Russian troops. And now he's and grabbing the southern part of the Crimea of Ukraine, because they wanted that port that they lost when Ukraine went independent without them. So this is basically, or most likely, going to end with the Ukraine taken over by Russia and still being called an independent country, but with an installed government by Russia that, like Belarus, will basically just be a lapdog for whatever Russia says. Now, as bad as it is right now for the Ukraine, and it is bad. It doesn't get much worse than this. There are several other countries around the border that I'm sure are paying very close attention to what Russia is doing. And the three that immediately come to mind is Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, former parts of the USSR that I can't remember off the top of my head whether they're part of NATO. But I'm sure that if they aren't, they're thinking about it, and the EU and all the rest of those things basically drawing closer to Western Europe, because Russia has nothing for them beyond just being a vassal state, which is what Putin is currently looking to be doing. And everything that he has said coming up to the actual invasion was a complete lie. So he said that, oh, this is just, these are just training exercises. Yeah, that fooled a lot of people, and yeah, there were still some people who were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt for that. I don't know why. And then it was, oh, well, it's expanded training exercise with Belarus, which of course is a vassal state of Russia, basically does whatever Russia tells them to do. And all of the hijinks that Belarus has been doing by pushing Syrian refugees up to the border with Poland, basically using innocent civilians as an act of aggression. And of course, a lot of the troops that have entered the Ukraine came through Belarus, because Belarus does whatever Russia tells them to do. That's what they do. So, what was next? Then it was, oh, we're just fortifying against Ukrainian aggression in the breakaway republics, not even republics, the breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine. That was all started with Russian help back in 2014, 2015. And now Russia recognizes them as independent countries. Yeah, independent countries. Which of course they are not. So this was all the pretext that led up to the actual invasion. And Putin played, well, I won't say he played everyone for a fool, because nobody was really fooled by what he was doing. The question was always going to be, well, what is the West going to do about it? And because leading up to this, we had no skin in the game, as in troops or material support for the Ukraine. We did all the usual hand-wringing and weeping and wailing, and we've put sanctions on high-level members of the Russian government, Russian society, which, like, they care. They basically pulled all of their big cash reserves out of Europe before all this happened, because they knew that it was going to be frozen, so they pulled all their hard currency out, because the ruble, of course, is just a garbage currency. And Germany, showing some backbone, refuses to certify the Nord pipeline, which was going to supply Russia with a lot of hard currency. Of course, the previous head muck-a-muck in Germany shut down a lot of their coal and other means of generating power facilities, because, you know, they're all polluting and stuff, and we're going to get all this great energy that's absolutely not politically held hostage from Russia. Well, a lot of the EU is paying that price right now, because that's all shut down for the most part, and should stay shut down. So I guess it really is going to depend on what the EU leadership, what kind of backbone the EU leadership has in defying Russia and not supplying them with hard currency and support. Because this isn't over. This is just the beginning of what he wants to do. And there'll be a lot of similar saber rattling likely for Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, and Poland, and a lot of the smaller breakaway republics from the former Soviet Union. Whether or not, and you know, Putin's whole thing is, oh well, you know, the NATO is expanding and the EU is expanding toward our borders and we don't feel safe and blah blah blah. The difference is the EU is a political organization that doesn't use military power to keep their member states in line, as the former Soviet Union did, and as Russia will likely do against anyone in their sphere of influence who dares to stand up to them. There's already been some, and you know, hey, there's been some protests in Russia, but those people are immediately taken off the street. All the main parts where the media is gathered, and how soon will it be before they're expelled from those areas? Any place where there's Western media and people show up to protest what Russia is doing, they're immediately arrested with all kinds of dire threats to what will happen to them once they're arrested, and likely will happen to them once they're arrested, because what does Putin care? Whoops, that went down a little bit. There we go. So this is the first step in a very, very, actually it's probably more like step 5 or 6 in a very long play by Putin. And we'll see what happens next, but none of it is going to be good. And there's going to be a lot more, there's going to be a lot more destruction. There's going to be a lot more death, until somebody basically actually stands up to what Putin is doing. And for the record, he likely would still have been doing these things whether Trump was president or whether Biden was president or whether whoever was president, because he's playing the long game. And all the hand-wringing by the Western powers doesn't really mean much to him. He doesn't care, and he's going to do whatever it is that he wants to do until somebody actually stands up to him. Because that's what dictators do. And we'll see what happens with China next also. Hopefully they're smart enough to stay out of it. All right, that's going to do it for today. Thank you all so very, very much. It wasn't exactly a fun Guy's Daily Drive today. If you want to send me email and give me your opinion on the things that I've said, you can send that to guy@mymac.com or podcast@vertshark.com. There's also, of course, the mymac.com podcast. We're coming up on our 600th episode, probably recorded tomorrow on Saturday the 26th. Nothing super big planned for that. It's just going to be another show, but you know, we'll talk a little bit about it. We don't have like clips set up for the funniest bits or anything like that, because that's really hard when you're talking about 600 shows. That's the kind of thing you start a long, long time ago. So, what else? Over on the Twitters, there is VertShark and MacParrot, as well as, oh, you know, I don't talk about this one very much. There's a Guy and Gaz Twitter feed as well, so I'll start plugging that here. I mean, that's been there for forever. Guy and Gaz on Twitter, VertShark on Twitter, MacParrot on Twitter. There is vertshark.com for all the odds and all the vids. Guy's Daily Drive, of course, you can subscribe to it there. Over on the YouTubes, just do a search for VertShark and then like, share, subscribe to the VertShark channel for all the vids. What else? Keep thinking there's something else. Oh yeah, if you'd like to support the things that I do and say, you don't have to. I'll keep doing it anyway. Patreon.com/MacParrot. Coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot. And you can pay a pal at paypal.me/MacParrot. So that's what I got for today. Wish it was a better show, but sometimes you just say the things that are in your heart. God help the people of the Ukraine. I hope they're able to stay strong, and I hope that this will be over soon for them. We will see all of you next time, right here on Guy's Daily Drive. Bye-bye.